What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the FF Ballbusters podcast. My name is Will. Over there is my co-host Eric. And today we're going to be talking about quarterback rankings and just how we feel they shake up and who we feel is overvalued and undervalued out of the NFL quarterbacks we got in Dynasty. But before we get into that, Eric, you got anything for the people?
Yeah, man, real quickly before we get into it, just big shout out to y'all. We've had so much support lately, and we really appreciate it. We are on that road to 1,000 subscribers, and we're making better progress than I would have even expected. So I just want to keep that momentum going, and if you guys are enjoying the content, continue to do all that great YouTube stuff. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you are kept up to date with all of our latest videos, and leave a comment down below as well. We want to hear your voice, your opinion on these rankings, these under and overvalued players at the quarterback position. And also, on the topic of comments, just a quick apology. I really kind of checked out for the Thanksgiving week, holiday week and weekend, so I haven't responded to a ton of comments. That's kind of something we pride ourselves on, responding to every comment. I will get to you if I haven't responded to you, and just, you know, in mind for the future, I'll be back on my regularly active schedule responding to things. But that's all I got before we get going.
Hell yeah. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. Same as usual, guys. We're going to be using this website. You guys have seen it before if you're a fan of the channel, but if not, it's called Keep Trade Cut. So what this website is a way that people in the Dynasty community, so people like yourself, could go on this website, rank players, how you value them, and then it'll take that aggregate and kind of put it together and give you sort of the community value on what a player is, as opposed to like maybe an analytical value that you would find on like Fantasy Pros or something like that. You know what I mean? So we're going to be going through this, and we're going to take a look at who we feel maybe their value doesn't quite match up with who we feel like they are as a player, or how we feel like things are going to go for them down the road. So to get started on that, Eric, what's the first name we want to name on this list?
This one might be a spicy one, but my first guy that I want to talk about is Josh Allen. I think that there's a decent argument to be made that he could be the QB1 in Dynasty. And I get that that's a hot take. I would still, even in that case, have Mahomes and Allen in the same tier. But Allen's just been better than both of them consistently production-wise for years. Or I'm sorry, did I say Mahomes and Allen? I meant Mahomes and Hurts.
Yes.
But yeah, he's been consistently producing at a higher level than them. Looking at the past 4 years for Allen and Mahomes and the past 3 for Hurts, since he hasn't been fantasy relevant for as many years. Allen is averaging 24.5 points per game over that span. Hurts is at 23. Mahomes is at 21.7. Allen's average positional ranking over that span is QB2 with 2 QB1 finishes. Hurts is at QB3 with 1 QB1 finish, and Mahomes is at 4.5 with not a single quarterback 1 finish during that time frame. And Allen's also been doing it with a below-average offensive line, comparatively speaking. I think his offensive line over the past 4 years has ranked outside the top 16, while Hurts's and Mahomes' offensive lines have been ranked top 10 every single year during that span. They're ranked fairly close together. I don't think it's crazy, but I think that he probably belongs closer to the top of the list.
Yeah, I would also agree with that. I think what this list, is compiling, I think Patrick Mahomes has probably the ultimate job security, which I feel like is maybe what this list is taking into account. But I also feel like Josh Allen is also in a spot like that. You know, recency bias, be damned. I know he's had some weird games as well this season. He has weird games every year where it's kind of, what is he doing out there? But the team is behind him still. The community's behind him still. So he has just as much security, I feel like, in his job as Patrick Mahomes. And like we talked about before with Josh Allen, he's got that rushing floor that gives him so much of an advantage over a guy like Patrick Mahomes, where Patty is mostly in the pocket making things happen from back there. And while he's one of the best ever to do it, Josh Allen is still throwing the ball at a high level, plus he is running the ball at a high level. So like you said, I feel like in terms of value, in terms of what he's out there doing on the field, I think he should be bumped up at the very least to the QB2. At the very least. You know what I mean? But QB1, there is a definite case for that. And like you said, I am on your side there. I do believe he should be the QB1, given that rationale.
Yeah, I like that. And then the next guy on the list I wanted to talk about was going to be CJ Stroud, but I'm interested in your opinion because I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with his ranking. I just think that maybe his value is something that I'm questioning.
So CJ Stroud's an interesting case for me because right now he's having one of the best rookie seasons, if not the best rookie season we've ever seen out of a quarterback. You know what I mean? So He's operating at a high level on a team that's rebuilding in the Houston Texans, but they're playing very well. The Houston Texans have been playing really well as a team. My thing is, do we feel like this year is the ceiling or the floor for CJ Stroud? And I think it's more of the ceiling than it is the floor. I think he's been performing at a super high level, and I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be good for years, to continue. But I feel like this is the highest level we can really, really see him perform at. And I don't believe he's the QB5 in fantasy, or QB4 in fantasy right now, is he?
In points per game ranking?
Right.
Actually, I think he is performing close to that level. Let me check real quick.
Say, he may be up there.
Yeah, he's at 5, averaging 20.2 fantasy points per game.
So that's why, it's an interesting case because I feel like this is the ceiling for him right here. But do I feel like he's going to consistently hit this ceiling every single year going forward? I'm not sure. I just feel like he belongs more so with players like Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, stuff like that. And that's kind of what we're going to be getting into, especially in terms of play style. I feel like he fits in more with those guys. I feel like that's more so where his value lies and not so much. Well, I'll let you talk about it. What do you feel about CJ Stroud? Because I don't want to eat in too much into what you're going to be saying here too.
No, I agree with you, and I think your point is fair. I don't know that this season is necessarily like his capped ceiling, but I don't think, to your point, I don't think we're going to see it drastically increase. QB4 at this point is fair, but the KTC value of being over 9,000 while Herbert and Burrow are both below 8,000 seems like too big of a gap to me. I understand the age difference, which is definitely relevant and important. Stroud is 22, Herbert and Burrow are 25 and 27 respectively. But he lacks the rushing upside, and I did watch last week's game where he had success on the ground. But so far in the season, he's been outproduced as a rusher by Justin Herbert, and nobody's calling him like a Konami code quarterback by any means. And we've seen guys with similar quarterbacking styles like Herbert and Burrow have their points per game numbers fluctuate significantly from season to season and actually decreased over time just because of that play style and the lack of rushing floor that they have under their belt. And so I'm not saying, that Stroud is definitely going to fall into that same category or have the same career arc, but I find it much more likely that his production is going to closely mirror those guys than the guys above him like Allen or Hurts. So having him in that top tier with those guys just seems like a little bit of a reach to me.
Nah, I absolutely agree. I think people are excited because he's a super young quarterback that's playing at a high level. And, you have all right to be excited because he is playing really well. But like you said, I do feel like in terms of play style, he is with those guys down there. And Justin Herbert has been playing pretty well this season as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so next on the list that we've got for people that we feel like we need to reevaluate a little bit, we got Tua Tagovailoa over here, or Tagovailoa. I don't really know how to pronounce his last name. It's been years. I really don't know. Do you have it nailed down?
The beginning is like tongue.
It's like
Tagovailoa. I think how it's
Tagovailoa,
supposed to be pronounced.
right?
So Tagovailoa, yeah.
Tagovailoa?
Yeah.
Okay, bet. So let's talk about Mr. Tagovailoa over here.
When I initially looked at this last night, he was ranked as the QB9. So things are already starting to correct a little bit, but I think that he's pretty drastically overvalued, in my opinion. I don't understand why he's ranked where he is right now. Just based on situation, like he's the quarterback of... This is going to sound contradictory, but I'll get to it. He's the quarterback of the best offense in the NFL, statistically, with arguably the brightest and most innovative offensive mind in football calling plays for him, surrounded by the best wide receiver core in the sport, and yet he's the quarterback 14 in points per game. Like, he's just not performing at even a quarterback 1 level in fantasy. And this is his 4th year in the league. He's never averaged 18 points per game or better. I feel like his ceiling is like Kirk Cousins, and he hasn't even really produced at that level yet. So I get that he's younger. I get, that's important. Longevity, potential job security, like we've talked about, those things are important. And obviously I outlined that his supporting cast is fantastic, but he's just not producing at a level that's conducive to him being ranked this high for me.
No, I completely agree. It's like you said, he's got just about everything in the world that he could need to be a top 10 quarterback, to earn the spot that he's at. So it's tough to say value-wise that he's not worth that spot, but he hasn't played like he's worth that spot. So it's like you said, it's tough to evaluate him here. He probably should be a little bit lower, somewhere around that QB 13, 14 range, probably just based on the fact that what has he done with what he's got, and how long is he going to have what he's got? Because we've heard Tyreek also saying that he may not have too many years left in the NFL. Jalen Waddle is he's 25, so he's not super young, but he's also not old. But who knows where he's going to be at once Tyreek is gone as well. So it's just there's a lot up in the air about Tua, and there's also kind of that lingering health concern that we don't want to count it too much against Tua because at the end of the day he can't control it, and who knows what's going to happen. He could be healthy for the rest of his career for all we know. But that question is always still going to be there. People are going to think about that every time he gets hit out there on the field. So it is a concern that it is there still.
Yeah, and you're going to tell me that you prefer Tua to Kyler or to Dak at this point?
Not with the way Kyler's been playing lately either, man. That boy is back.
For real.
It does not matter if Modern
For
Warfare
his whole
3 is
career.
out. Yeah, it does not matter.
Yeah, I mean, Kyler currently is sitting at 20 points per game, QB6 in points per game. Dak is QB3 at almost 21 points per game. And we've seen both of them do this in their career before, where they've been in that top five category. We've never seen Tua do that. So I don't really get it. And I think that this is kind of a separate argument. We don't have to get into it with player specifics. But Kyler and Dak definitely deserve to jump Tua. And I think really the quarterbacks, 8 through 12 in general, excluding Tua, should have their value numbers jump up closer to that Burrow tier. How you want to rank them, it's kind of a crapshoot. Trevor, Kyler, Dak, it's tough to separate them. But I think they all deserve to be valued higher than they are right now.
I absolutely agree with that 100%, especially Kyler. Kyler has been disrespected in the rankings for a little bit too long, to be honest.
Yeah. 100%.
Yep. And with that being said, we're going to move on to the next player we got here on the list. Somebody that I wanted to talk about, Mr. Brock Purdy for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I'm not saying we need to bump him up or really down in the rankings because we talked about it before and we feel like he is appropriately rated. But just how crazy is it that this guy is performing the way he is and he is valued right here? I just want to talk about it. Kyle Shanahan is so good at finding these mid quarterbacks that don't deserve to be where they're at and just putting them on that platform. So Brock Purdy, it's weird that he's a QB 13. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the QB 13 because I think he's there to stay. Unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know. But yeah, Brock Purdy, he's up there. But what I really wanted to talk about in terms of discussion is Mr. Justin Fields for the Chicago Bears. Currently ranked at the QB 14. Obviously, he's back now from injury. Didn't have the best game coming back from that injury. But his situation is strange to me because right now he's the QB 14. That's where his value lies at. But after this season, things are going to get very, very strange, I feel like, for the Bears and for Justin Fields. Because right now, they're sitting with the number 1 and number 4 overall picks, at least projected right now in the NFL draft. And if they have the number 1 overall pick, do you pass on Caleb Williams and hope to keep building around Justin Fields?
No,
yeah,
you do not.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if that's what they did. I'd be very upset as a Bears fan if that's what they did. I believe in Justin Fields. I think that he can be a successful NFL quarterback. I think that he deserves a shot on another team. But if you have that number 1 overall, you're taking Caleb and you're not looking back. You're trading Justin Fields somewhere else. So I have hope that Justin Fields can get it done for another team. But I'd be shocked if he's back with Chicago next year just based on how things are going right now. But ranking-wise,
it leaves a very interesting conversation, right?
Yeah. So in this situation where it's like a quarterback getting replaced by the heir apparent, by a number 1 draft pick, I don't know that there's a good history of quarterbacks changing teams in that scenario and finding success somewhere else. But, we want to evaluate Justin Fields just by himself. Obviously, the rushing floor is there. He's been fantastic from a fantasy perspective in that category. The passing has been questionable. I don't know that I could really rank him below, Goff or Bryce at this point. But maybe the gap between him and the Purdy's, Prescott's, Kyler's deserves to be widened. What's your take?
So my take isn't even really of a place where he needs to really move in the rankings too much because, like you said, we don't even know what's going to happen. He could go somewhere and thrive. Chicago could be stupid and trade the pick away and let somebody else take him. Who knows? But I think the real question here lies in, do you keep a Justin Fields on your team, or what are the circumstances that you keep a Justin Fields on your team? You know what I mean? If you're on in Dynasty, because that's kind of the frame we're looking at all this through. If you're on a team who is rebuilding, say you got some time, you've got a Justin Fields on your team, are you trying to get rid of him now, or are you waiting to see what happens with that situation?
I think I'd be looking to move him. I just, probability-wise, I think it's unlikely that his situation improves.
Right. I think right now, while the season is going on, I feel like is the best time to try to move him, if you're going to.
Yeah. His value is going to get lower. This is weird because the Bears are a bad offensive environment. So I guess if he does get traded, there's a decent likelihood that his offensive environment improves, but just the likelihood that his production gets better in a new situation, like I said, historically, that's just not something that we've seen very often. So I would try to move him if you can get back-end QB1 prices for him right now.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I would try to get him off your team, especially if you're on a team that's got time. You know what I mean? You're rebuilding, not trying to have a whole lot of production on it anyways. I would look to get Justin Fields off the team because who knows what's going to happen with this Bears team in this offseason. And that's kind of going to lead me into the next player I wanted to talk about because the situation is becoming more and more similar as the weeks go along, and that's Sam Howell. Sam Howell's been rising up boards quite a bit. He's been performing at a pretty high level on a not-so-good team, but he's been number 2 in passing yards. I think right now he's number 2 in passing yards, may even be number 1. But Sam Howell, the situation in Washington is weird. He's number 1 right now, yeah. The situation in Washington is weird because they're currently sitting at about the 5th overall pick. They're probably going to keep getting worse, I would assume. We just got rid of our defensive coordinator. It's just kind of a fire sale over there in Washington. It seems like they are going for the full tank mode now. Where does that leave Sam Howell in the mix-up of all of that? If we're to somehow fall into, say, the 3rd overall pick and we're staring down the barrel of a Drake May, is Sam Howell going to stay with the team at that point? Because I think they're taking the Drake May in that situation. But who knows? Because anything can happen on draft night at the end of the day as well. Anything could happen right now to the process that could even drop Drake May in the rankings somehow. I don't know. But as it looks right now, Washington's staring down the barrel of maybe having a new quarterback under the helm very soon.
Yeah. If the Commanders make it into the top 3, they should absolutely take one of those quarterbacks, if that's even an option, because I could also see Caleb and Drake May going 1 and 2.
Absolutely.
So if one of those guys is on the board, they should take them. I don't know that I want to project for Sam Howell's current dynasty value that they're going to make it into that top 3. I think the Panthers are going to continue to be terrible, which means the Bears are going to have that number 1 overall pick. I think the Patriots are going to continue to be terrible. The Cardinals, maybe with Kyler back, could win a couple games and take themselves out of that type of contention. I just don't know that they get high enough for us to start projecting now that we have to worry about his job security, because I do think that if they weren't that high in the draft, he's played plenty well enough to deserve the chance moving forward.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely true. But if they land in that top 3, I think that doesn't matter anymore. That's kind of where I'm coming from. So it's really just I'm trying to get ahead of it before it really does become a thing. Because once that ball gets rolling in fantasy, it doesn't stop. So once you miss out on that value, it's gone. You know what I mean?
Right. But the potential difference there, if them staying at the 5th pick versus a top 3 pick is huge, because if they get a top 5 pick, they could bring in
Brock Bowers or Malik Neighbors.
Marvin Harrison's not going to make it, but exactly. Like one of those types of talents, or improve the offensive line and makes the situation better for Sam Howell versus the opposite. So I just don't know that I want to project the quarterback coming in yet. But okay, so all of that being said, I think we've done a good job outlining the the ceiling, the floor, the value conversation of Sam Howell. But does that change your ranking of him? Do you think he is appropriately ranked right now?
I think in terms of his play, so I think the reason why he's ranked down here is because sort of the job security type of thing. Because honestly, if job security weren't an issue, he would be ranked higher than this spot, in my opinion. I think he'd be higher than right here. But there is that question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think he is appropriately ranked, but I think it's something we do need to call at least a little bit of attention to in the community. You know what I mean? Because as a player and as the way he's been producing, he should be ranked higher than where he is. But just based on that little question of just job security and how the team is going to move forward, it makes it a little bit shakier than that. So honestly, I may even rank him a little bit lower than like a guy like Jared Goff, who I feel like is, kind of there to stay. He's on the older side, but he's got probably another good 10 years out of him, I would say, out of a Jared Goff.
I don't know that I'd go that far. And also just production wise, like Sam Howell is currently outproducing Jared Goff. So I think I wouldn't put Sam Howell above Brock Purdy, but I think probably that QB 14-15 range is just about right, in my opinion.
Nah, I think that's fair. I think it's something that we do need to at least pay attention to going forward, though. At least how that situation shapes out.
Absolutely. And then there's one more guy that I do want to talk about. And if you've been around, if you've been watching the channel, this is going to be an interesting name for me to bring up because I have been very negative around this guy the entire season and for most of his career. It's going to be Jordan Love, and I think he's actually undervalued right now. Surprisingly, he's currently ranked as the QB 18 on Keep Trade Cut. The first 3 weeks of the season, I was not in on him. He was bolstered dramatically by crazy touchdown luck, super unsustainable. That was never going to continue. And then he went through kind of a drought the next few weeks after that, where the eye test that I saw in the first 3 weeks matched the production because the unsustainable touchdown luck regressed back to the mean. But then these past 4 weeks, man, he's looked really good. And the production has been there to boot. And I think that's where like the eye test and the production is starting to meet in a good place because over here, let me pull it up. Jordan Love on the season so far, QB 13 in points per game at 18. But over the past 4 weeks, he's put up 14, 17, 21, and 27 points over those last 4 outings. He looked fantastic against Detroit last week. And I think he's just improving. What's your take on Jordan Love and his future outlook?
I think, like you said, the last 4 weeks have been good. He's been playing against some pretty decent defenses, and the Lions and I think the Steelers are a good defense this year. So I feel like he has been playing at least at a respectable level. You know what I mean? Which is kind of what we had hoped for at the beginning of the season. We saw him playing at a great level, so then people got a little over optimistic. He came back to earth, and now I think he's playing at where I feel like Jordan Love should be playing at. Because we forget. Or at least I do sometimes. I forget that he's not a rookie, and this is like his 4th year in the NFL. So it's like he should be performing where he's at right now. So it's good to see that he's there. In terms of how I value him, I do like him more than guys like Bryce Young right now. I don't see a whole lot of hope for Bryce Young at the moment. And I feel like Jordan Love at least does have the team behind him. I don't feel like Bryce Young really has that too much. But Jordan Love himself as a talent, and he has a lot of young talent around him that's also emerging. Jaden Reed's been playing really well. Christian Watson's been really good. Romeo Dobbs has been solid throughout the season. Luke Musgrave, of course, has been playing well. Tucker Kraft played well last week. So it's good to see the stuff around Jordan Love also working as well as it is too. So it definitely does make me more optimistic about the situation that Jordan Love is able to perform at least the serviceable level. You know what I mean? Because that's all we're really looking for out of him with the talent that he has around him, because that can at least elevate that in terms of fantasy. And we didn't get that for a few weeks where it looked like he was just really bad. And now it seems like he's leveled back out again.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for the entire team improving, and that's something that you should see really with a team as young as they are. On offense, they're incredibly young, tons of rookies and sophomores out there, and so seeing them all grow and improve together is definitely encouraging and something that I think we can look to for the future. In terms of his ranking, currently sitting at QB 18, personally, I think he belongs in that kind of like Howell Purdy conversation. Earlier in the season, during those first 3 weeks, his KTC value spiked and peaked at QB 11. I'm not willing to put him up there with the Kylers and the Dax. I think that's definitely too far. But right around that kind of QB 15-ish range, I think is probably where I'd be willing to put him. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. With the way he's been performing, with the trajectory of this offense as well, like we said, they got a lot of young guys over there. So if they just keep getting better, this offense in theory should keep getting better with Jordan Love also, along for the ride, if not getting better himself as well. So I am optimistic at least, and he should be in that conversation up there. He shouldn't be down here with Bryce Young with the, question mark, or Will Levis, another question mark, or Deshaun Watson, who was proven to also be a question mark. So
Yeah.
I do like that a lot.
All right, so we're on the same page there. That is the last name that I had that I wanted to discuss as overvalued or undervalued. Do you have anybody else you want to?
Oh man, only other person I wanted down here. We got the QB 39 on Keep Trade Cut. We got Tommy DeVito. He should be moved up, definitely for sure. QB 20 or bust. Just fucking run it up. Where's all the fajou? Yeah, bro. He's been
Fucking run it up.
yeah. But in all seriousness,
the passing paisano.
the passing paisano. But yeah, in terms of actual players, I got nothing else really. Fuck Daniel Jones, but that's about it. That's all I got.
I love it. That's how we're gonna round this thing out, baby. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something. Like we said at the top, leave a comment if you agree, disagree, if there's anybody you think we missed that we need to talk about, if there's anybody that you think we butchered the conversation around, let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear it, and we will respond. Again, apologies for not being active this past week, but I will get back on it. Do all that great YouTube stuff that we talked about at the top. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the content. Hit that sub button and hit the notification bell to stay in the know with all of our latest videos. But that's all I got. Will, you got anything else left to say to the people?
Yeah, make sure you guys check out all those links down in the description below to all of our sponsors over at Dynasty Owner, our sponsors over at Do Numbers. Get you some cool merch, some hoodies, stuff like that. I believe Eric has on a hoodie right over there. So check out that website for some cool merch and apparel. And also check out the link to the Discord. We have some great people joining up. We're thinking about possibly starting some Discord Dynasty leagues too. So if you're thinking about being a part of that, join up because we may have some opportunities for you. But with that being said, thank you guys so much. And if you made it this far into the video, as always, we love you. And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.